Well, we're here today with Mayor Kris Reinersman from the City of Independence, here in the heart of Kenton County, in the geographical center of our county. So, Mayor, great to be with you.
Great to have you out here. Appreciate when you come out, Judge. It's always good to see you out in the, like you said, in the heart of the county,
Absolutely.
in the other county seat.
Exactly, that's right. And to that point, we have the historic Kenton County Courthouse here in Independence, the Government Center in Covington, but this great facility we're in here this morning, and really the great little town feel that we always have here in Independence, but with the continued growth right here around the city. But tell us some of the things that are going on right now here in Independence.
You know, it's been exciting, and you and I took office in our respective roles at the same time, and my big goal coming in, and we've had this conversation a lot, is really economic development. We've got a great community here. We are very much a bedroom community. We have seen some growth. You know, where our city building is our town center. We've got a Kroger Marketplace shopping center, and have had a lot of retail growth out here. But we really needed some employers, so we've been focused on that. And I've had my eye on an area in the southwest corner of town along the 536 corridor probably as long as I've been around, so between council and mayor, about 10, 11 years now. Yeah. And looking at even beyond as a volunteer on a committee, and looking at that area, just seeing the potential. You know, I, as much as anybody, hate to see the cows leave the hillside and see the farms go away, but sure, the reality of it is it's going to happen. And in the back corner of the city, closer to the interstate, that was just the perfect place to look for some industrial growth where we could bring some jobs to the city and really shift our tax base. We were too heavily reliant on residential property taxes, which meant residents are paying more and they're getting less for it. So this gives us some real opportunities. So I'm very, very excited. We've got about 1.2 million square feet of industrial space going in and about 100 acres. And thanks for your help on that. I've been working on it. We've got a developer. We started working with them, and the other side of the road was in the county. We worked with you and the resources of the county and several meetings to make this come to fruition. So appreciate that, but it's a game changer, and that's going to open up the door for, there's probably another 400 acres available for development in that area, and that's going to set Independence on a new course for decades to come.
You know, one of the key things, and we've talked about this also for a long time, is the responsibility of the city and the county is obviously to pay for basic services, and it's almost impossible to do that on just the backs of property tax. Mm-hmm. But with your economic development growth and then balancing that with just seeing the continued really balance of residential, commercial development, and you're never going to make everybody happy, but kind of that balance, I've seen the city really work through that over the past number of years in a really good way.
Yeah, it is, and that is the challenge, as you well know. It's growing to make this sustainable for the future, but at the same time, keeping our eye on what made this place great in the first place. And, Independence, I haven't seen the final numbers. I know where we rank. We're the third largest in Northern Kentucky City, the second largest in Kenton County, behind Covington. But I believe we've moved from 14 up to number 12 in the state, possibly.
That's right.
So that's, nobody thinks of Independence being that populous, and that's okay. Yeah. A lot of people love it here, including me, because it feels like a small town despite the nearly 30,000 residents.
Well, to that small town feel, but also the benefits of this, of the growth that's happening. Mm-hmm. Some of the exciting things, the recreation, you've had the fireworks shows, you partner with both churches and nonprofits locally to do some of those things. So talk about some of those exciting things that people may not be actually seeing unless they live here or paying attention to Independence.
We do. We've got several great events. We've got a couple that are spectacular. One is the fireworks, as you mentioned. Our name's Independence, so we got to take Independence Day seriously. Right. And because of our, let's call it our humble beginnings as a bedroom community, we have always relied so heavily on volunteers, and there's just a great volunteer spirit in this community. Yeah. So that's how that 4th of July or Independence Day celebration happened, a 2-day celebration. We have a parade on the Saturday closest to the 4th, but it all culminates with about a half-hour to 35-minute fireworks show put on by Independence's own Vito's Fireworks. But that local fireworks show is consistently rated among the top 10 4th of July fireworks in the state. So it's a spectacular show, and by the way, those taxpayers don't pay a dime for it because we've got some of our great local businesses sponsor those. So that works out great. And then come Christmas time, you've been a part of that with us because we utilize the historic courthouse grounds as kind of the center point of our Christmas walk. And that takes place from what we call our downtown area, Courthouse Square area, all the way up to the town center area up here, which is about a mile. Yeah. And that's another one where the humble beginnings, where the businesses just opened their doors, gave out hot chocolate, cookies, whatever, local choirs would sing, crafts, things for kids. We didn't really have the resources. Now, And we met right here in these council chambers a couple of weeks ago for probably our third Christmas walk meeting and it involves local businesses, local churches. Everybody's at the table, everybody's a partner in making this event great.
That's great. Well, and obviously that's coming up here in a couple of months. And looking back, you've got the summer excitement, upcoming winter, but balancing again, paying the bills with economic development growth and taking care of residents who've been here forever, all those balances. And all the while you're blacktopping roads, you're putting in sidewalks, and really managing that issue while your public service between fire, which is an independent district, you partner with them, but they're part of the team, and then of course your in-house police department, which are top-notch. You want to speak to them at all in terms of what's going on in terms of public service?
It is. What's the challenge? Yeah, we've got about 200 lane miles in the city. So for a city, that's a pretty substantial number of roads, or certainly for a suburban city. And it does have challenges. We rely on the municipal road aid from the state, our apportionment of the gas tax, but that doesn't cover. When I took office, I asked our engineers to do a study and tell me, I knew we've always been behind on streets, so what do I need to spend? And at that point, it was $1.2 million a year. I think that previous year we had budgeted $750,000.
That's a gap.
Yeah, big gap, and $500,000 of that was from the state, from the gas tax. So we've gotten it up there. We've been able to get that and it's really, we haven't had a tax increase since I've been here, so it's been through that business growth more than anything that has allowed us to get there. But we have to stay on top of that. Police, as you well know, law enforcement is getting to be challenging in so many ways. We've got top-notch professionals. Our training program is among the top in the country. You've got to have the best people for that. Unfortunately, we have fewer and fewer people wanting to get into it for a variety of reasons. And it is a challenge now, putting officers on the street. My chief sent me a text last night of another local agency advertising for a pretty high number of what they're hiring in at, and we're facing those challenges as well. So that's why it's more important than ever that we have to look at these revenue models, and we have to say, I don't want to see the farm go away, I don't want to see the cows go away, but realize there's got to be a trade-off, and just hope that you have, and it's certainly something I try to think of every day, and I'm sure you do too, is be very cognizant of being a good steward for what you're building during your time sitting in this chair.
Exactly.
And pass it on to the next.
Well said. And we talk about partnering. You've really been nothing but a phenomenal mayor, and really partnering with both other cities and the county to provide the best service possible for those who elect you. But one of the things we've talked about is resources that we can share. Reaching out, we've got a county engineer. You've been able to tap into his ability and skill as well, and our ability to hopefully go down to state together even. And we've got to work together to bring those state dollars back to Northern Kentucky, back to Kenton County, back to Independence, and you've been a great steward of that as well. But maybe speak to that as well as working between Frankfort, the county, and together.
Oh, but first off, I agree with you 100%, and I think it's the reason I've made a point of being on various boards, and we'll run into each other meetings frequently, because I believe I have to be outside of my city, especially a city this side, and be a part of those boards. But yeah, regionalism is so important and so critical. We have to have that unified voice in Frankfort. I mean, most will say, and I will agree, that we are somewhat of Frankfort's redheaded stepchild.
Sure. That's true.
So yeah, and it's easy to put us off in a corner when we're coming from, literally 50 different angles between the counties and the various cities in Northern Kentucky counties and all that. So no, I think it's very important that we're unified on that. But yeah, there are absolutely efficiencies that can be realized. To that point, and to a city-county partnership, great example I have is when we both first took office, I get a phone call late at night, and a semi had taken out a bridge here in the city. And while it was a very narrow bridge, it linked half the city, the northern half of the city on the east side, to a school and a whole lot of other things. Yeah. It was a critical bridge, and it was beyond repair.
The calls you don't want.
Yes, it was. So yeah, as I recall, I think it was a snowy February morning. I was down in your conference room, and we were sitting down and just racking our brains trying to figure out how we can do this. This was right on the city-county border. It was was previously a county road. And you know, we sat down and we worked out a plan where we could use city resources, county resources, including, like you said, your engineer, and we made it work.
Yeah, that's great.
And
a beautiful bridge it is at that, actually.
It is indeed, yeah. So we came out way ahead on that. Every time I still drive, two of my kids live in a subdivision, I have to cross that regularly.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So I think it every time I go by there.
Well, you know, and actually, I think you just pointed out regionalism, partnership, and really, it doesn't always mean that we are always going to be in agreement, but what we can do is point out the issues that need to be addressed and move everybody down the pike, because really, City of Independence residents, the county as a whole, they don't care in the end. It's saying, guys, just get the job done, right?
That's it.
And you know, you do that every day, and hopefully we're doing that at the county to support you. And as we wrap up, Mayor, you know, maybe speak to any other things aspirational you would have. If you had your magic wand for the City of Independence over the next, you know, decade, what would it be?
You know, I love the path we're on. I love the fact we're bringing employers, we're bringing in some entertainment options now. One of the things that it's kind of driven me crazy was you so often had to leave Independence if you wanted to have a night out. We started these parties at the park several years ago on the second Thursday of the month. We have just a concert, and we'll have some vendors, some food trucks, and you know, beer vendors and such, or people can just bring out a cooler and a picnic basket.
That's great.
Yeah, so you don't have to go downtown. You don't have to go down to the Purple People Bridge or whatever. But more than that, if you're going to go out Saturday night with your friends, it was, yeah, we've got some great restaurants here in town, but it's hard to make an evening of it necessarily, or do it with some regularity. But we've got the Downs of Nicholson development that is starting to take shape.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be exciting.
It's going to be spectacular. Yeah, I think it's going to be Limestone's Restaurant, which is going to be a kind of modeled after Greyhound Tavern type sit-down restaurant bar. Where we've got the 1842 brewery, I think is what it's going to be called. So it's going to be a microbrewery right here in Independence in that same development. Yeah. And if anybody paid attention in the news here recently, all the talk about the developer, Gary Holland, has bought the franchise rights to the old Roy Rogers restaurant. So we're going to have a Roy Rogers there even, and then building about 90 patio homes. Yeah, it's going to be...
That's fantastic.
It's going to be something that Independence residents their friends will call and say, hey, we want to hang out in Independence on Saturday night, what do you think? Or you can call your friends up and say, why don't you come on out? Yeah, we'll have dinner at Kris Creek, and then we'll head out to the brewery, or whichever one it is. There'll be a lot of options. So I'm very excited about that trajectory. I think the key is every step of the way, we've got to keep our eye on what made this city great, what people love about it. It is that small town feel. So we try to be very, very cognizant of focus our development in certain areas, not just whatever, you know, will make the most money for a developer. I'm all for the developers making money, but we have to look at every project through the lens of what's it going to feel like in 20, 30 years.
Yeah. And I've seen you do that. I've seen you work through a challenge like that, and really, there are a lot of times you have an easier answer just to go this, or quicker answer to go this direction, and I've seen you work through that balance, and I keep thinking in terms of that balance you had to do that, and to development from Holland, and a local guy doing it, which is even better, right?
Yeah,
so Gary
absolutely.
Holland and his success and his team.
Well, Independence, a son of Independence too, who just loves this city. He'll go the extra mile.
So Mayor, one of the things we've talked about is our advocating in Frankfurt for making sure that Northern Kentucky and Kenton County Independence isn't forgotten. We've got great leadership down there. Obviously, Senator Damon Thayer, Kris McDaniel. They're very responsive, and they're fighting like heck for us, and we appreciate that work. And I know you spent a lot of time in their offices, and obviously the other work that we do to advocate for independence.
Absolutely, yeah, they are critical, and Representative Mosier as well. Those are certainly Senator Thayer, Senator McDaniel's just outside of Independence, but I still have the opportunity to work with him on several occasions. But Senator Thayer, Representative Mosier, I can text. I was texting them both last week. I mean, if we have an issue, and they do, and they come up, and you don't want to necessarily, I know they're busy, you don't want to call that every time, but sometimes it's necessary for a specific issue. But more than that, yes, it's the policy making and the absolute willingness. We're very busy, and I will find myself on trips to Frankfurt realizing that I had planned this trip to Frankfurt. I'm trying to get work done so I can take my other job, so I can take the day and spend a day or so in Frankfurt, and I'll realize I didn't reach out to any of them. But I know I've done it too many times, frankly, where I've called or texted to Kim or Damon and said, hey, I'm sorry, I know this is last minute, but I'm going to be there. Do you have time to sit down? And they have never turned me down.
And you get a response like that, which
absolutely.
is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's critical. It's all part of that partnership. That partnership goes beyond Northern Kentucky.
Being with Mayor of Independence here today is just one of the many things we're going to continue to do to share all the great things happening in Kenton County, and with one of our largest cities, with one of the most complex geographical situations going on. We want to continue to really learn what you're doing, share that with the public, and make sure we acknowledge that great service you as a local mayor continue to do.
Oh, we'd love to have you out here to talk about it.
And all the great things continuing in Kenton County, so thanks so much.